I was having y'all, your boy Rico from StreetScores. I already know I'm gonna be busy on March 14th, Friday. Right now it's 2 a.m., but I want to go ahead and knock out this video and release it later because I already know I'm about to be all over the place tomorrow. And I still have a lot of news to catch up on. I feel like this video is the perfect time to break down the Bear swap that we had because the Washington Commanders signed an ex-Bear edge rusher, Jacob Martin. Is this guy a potential starter or is he just a depth rotational piece? Is he just a camp body? I'm going to try to dive as far in as I can and be as transparent with you as to where his skill set may actually lie. And then also, the Washington Commanders lost wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus to the Chicago Bears. So again, that's why I called it the Bear swap. And I also have a trivia question for you. The question is, what team did the Commanders play to a 2020 tie in 2022? Again, with these 2022 questions, of course, I'm going to give you the answer to that by the end of this video. And before we get into everything, make sure you still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting every video. Make sure y'all pull up, leave likes, leaving comments, being very opinionated. I love it. Whether you agree or disagree with me, I love the discussions, the educated and intellectual discussions we have in the comments. So make sure you keep leaving those. Without further ado, let's go and dive into the video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so ex-Bears defensive end Jacob Martin had been announced to be signing with the Washington Commanders around 8 p.m. Technically yesterday as in March 13th, but for me it feels like still today. But either way, he's signing a one-year deal with the Commanders worth up to only $3 million. Up to $3 million. Now, just off of the contract alone, at the very least, we can assume that the Commanders do not think very highly of this guy. This is probably the cheapest contract we've given out yet to a non-special teams guy. So even they potentially see this guy contract-wise as a depth piece, a backup, a rotational piece, and maybe even a guy that doesn't even necessarily make the 53-man roster. So I'm going to go ahead and give you that heads up now. But again, I've already watched a little bit of tape on him. We're going to dive into some stats and some advanced, Pro Football Focus grades and things like that to try to really see if he has the potential to be a starter. But again, off of just the contract alone, keeping it 100 with you up front, not about to clickbait you and wait till the end of the video to tell you this. They're giving him a one-year deal worth up to $3 million. So it's technically going to be less than that against the cap. This move doesn't stop you from getting another edge rusher in free agency. It definitely doesn't stop you from getting an edge rusher potentially in the first round of the draft. This is just another edge rusher that we're adding to the group. Adam Schefter was the first one to report it at 8:05 p.m. He said free agent defensive end Jacob Martin is signing a one-year deal with the Commanders up to $3 million per source. Shouts out to John Com. He tweeted, Washington signed edge rusher Jacob Martin to a one-year deal. Source confirms. Martin spent last season with Chicago. Adam Schefter reported that it was a deal up to $3 million and Martin is joining his 8th organization. Since he's entered the NFL, this is his 8th team already. He was on the Seahawks in 2018, then the Texans 2019 through 2021, then the Jets and Denver Broncos in 2022, then the Colts in 2023, and the Chicago Bears in 2024. And those are just the teams that he actually went out and played for in a game, let alone other teams that he may have been on the roster but never got into a game for. So it totals up to 8 teams that he's at least been signed to, whether it's just practice squad or whatever, just to let you know. Shouts out to Sam Fortier. He said clear-cut depth signing. That's it. Martin, only 29 years old, though. I mean, he's right there near 30, but maybe there's still some potential there. He's still arguably in his prime. If there is a prime to really be spoken of, we'll see. He's 6'2", 242 pounds, which is fairly light for a defensive end. And he's also a career journeyman as well. He had 3 sacks last year with Chicago, which, I mean, hey, that's not that bad. It's not great. I wouldn't even say it's good, but it's better than a lot of the other defensive linemen and guys that we had out there last year at the very least. Because in 2024, Dante Fowler gave us 10.5 sacks. Frankie Louvu as a blitzing linebacker gave us 8. Dorrance Armstrong gave us 5. Deron Payne gave us 4. And then now we're down to Jacob Martin territory with Cleveland Farrell having 3.5. Jonathan Allen, of course, he was hurt, but he gave us 3. Bobby Wagner gave us 2. Jeremy Chin gave us 2. Johnny Newton played all of those snaps, and I still really believe in his potential, but he only gave us 2 last year. Jalen Holmes gave us 2. Javonte Jean-Baptiste gave us 1, and no other player on the NFL gave us a single sack last season. So yeah, this guy may just be worst case scenario a camp body that may not even necessarily make the 53-man roster, but hey, at least he produces somewhat. Like, he's gonna go out there and at least get a couple of sacks every season. That's just what he does. I mean, if you actually look at his stats over the course of seasons, if you look at the stats in 2024, again, this most recent year, he had 3 sacks. The year before that, 2. The year before that, 1. Year before that, 1.5. Before that, in 2022 as well, 2.5. So just actually in 2022 alone, from playing for multiple different teams, he actually ended up having 5 sacks total throughout that season on multiple different teams. In 2021, he had 4 sacks. 2020, he had 3. 2019, he had 3.5. In his rookie season, 2018, he had 3. So he's pretty much a guy that's going to be somewhere in the range of like 2 to 4, maybe 5 sacks in the season. And then, as you can see on the screen right now, as we're still talking about him, here are some of the clips that I could find for him on Twitter. These are all 22 clips. Hopefully, YouTube doesn't get mad at me and take this video down or demonetize it for me showing y'all this. Y'all know, like I said, if it were up to me, I would have all 22 clips of whatever players I'm talking about in every single video. I'm just afraid YouTube's going to get mad at me. So every now and then I may try to throw one out here like this. We'll see how it goes. But again, the clips that you're seeing are Jacob Martin. Now let's dive into his Pro Football Focus, because last year he had an overall grade of 63.5, which isn't really that bad, even though that's 92nd out of 211 edge rushers last year. But his pass rush grade was 61st out of 211 pass rushers. And the reason that like his overall grade is lower than his pass rush grade, because his run defense grade was a 54.9, which is 150th out of 211 edge rushers. This is purely a pass rush specialist type of edge rusher guy. And he's not one of the best, but he's also not one of the worst. Again, 61st in pass rushing last year is not that bad. Between every team having 2 edge rushers, I mean, at least Pro Football Focus feels like he's worthy of being like a low tier starting edge rusher in the NFL. And this is a guy that I'm not even necessarily expecting to make the final 53-man roster. So this is just more talent to practice with and to give an opportunity to potentially make the team. And again, it's pretty much how he's been throughout his entire career, because last season he had a 63.5 overall grade. 2023 he had a 62.1, and then 2022 he had a 65.1, and then in 2021 with the Houston Texans, his best season ever according to Pro Football Focus. Also the season that he played his most snaps by far was 700. The next he's ever played in another season was 375 the year before that, but that year with the 700 snaps in Houston was a 67.3. It's pretty much been somewhere in the low 60s, maybe high 60s, or somewhere in like the mid 50s, depending on the season that you're looking at. But like the last 4 years, he's consistently been somewhere in like the mid to high 60s. So it's not like, again, he's not like a terrible player. I mean, if we're talking about grades now, the only edge rusher on our team right now that has a higher grade is Dorrance Armstrong with a 65.3 overall grade. Again, Jacob Martin had a 63.5 last year. Again, Dorrance Armstrong has a 65.3. Then you have Dietrich Wise with a 59.7, Javonte Jean-Baptiste with a 52.9, and Andre Jones Jr. with a 39.3. And Viliami Fehoko Jr. didn't even play enough to even get a grade. And Dante Fowler, who I really hope we re-sign, had a lower grade than Jacob Martin last year, even though he had 10.5 sacks. He had a lower overall grade, and also even still a lower pass rush grade, even with, again, 10.5 sacks to Jacob Martin's last year, only getting 3. So, you know, Pro Football Focus, of course, is not the end-all, be-all. It's not like we completely agree with their grades and things like that. But my point is, this guy isn't just some bum that we just signed off of the street. He's a decent quality player who, again, I'm not trying to hype him up. I'm already telling y'all right now, there is a pretty good chance he doesn't even make the final 53-man roster. But this is not just some no-name camp body type of guy. And I also want to point out the fact that now, really, when I'm thinking about it, even with this defensive line class being the deepest class that has been arguably in like a few years now, it's still looking less and less likely that the Commanders use a non-7th round pick on a defensive lineman. Like, first of all, we don't have a 3rd nor a 5th round pick in the first place to even use on a defensive lineman. We have a 1st, 2nd, 4th, and then you got to wait till the 6th and the 7th. But also, we're signing and re-signing a bunch of defensive linemen. They are not playing. Like, they were like, okay, our biggest weakness last year was stopping the run. We're going to load up on a bunch of run stoppers. Now, granted, we have sacrificed some pass rush, especially with the fact that we do not have Dante Fowler on roster right now. But with that, I wouldn't be surprised now if they pivot to prioritizing like running back, or maybe even a safety, maybe a corner with like their higher picks in the draft. Whether they stay at 29 overall, trade back, whatever, I think it's almost worth putting money on the fact that at this point, I honestly feel like we're more than likely leaning towards like running back with whatever pick we make with the first selection of the draft. Whether it's 29 or we trade back, I'm leaning towards running back at this point. Even though, again, this is a very deep defensive line class, defensive tackle especially, and edge rusher as well. We just keep signing more edge rushers and defensive tackles every time you look around. We're re-signing them. We're signing them from other teams. Our team is just full of a bunch of defensive linemen right now. Probably one of our deepest positions, not even necessarily quality wise, but at least quantity wise compared to any other position group right now on the team. We definitely have more defensive linemen than we have offensive linemen and wide receivers right now. It's crazy. And then also shouts out to Walter Football because he gave his opinion on the signing. He pointed out the fact that we signed him to a 1-year, $3 million deal. He gave it a B grade. Again, I keep bringing up Walter Football just because of the fact that he wants us to win the Super Bowl. I think he said something to the extent of he put money on us when our Super Bowl odds were 20-1 before we even like traded for Deebo Samuel, traded for Laramie Tunsil, before free agency even started. So whenever he does these grades, he's kind of like rooting for us, like, please, Commanders, please make the right moves. He gave the Javon Kinlaw signing a terrible grade, but everything else he's loved, and he felt like the re-signing of Noah Brown was an A+ worthy grade. He's given us like B's and B+ all up and down. He said for Jacob Martin, again a B grade, is an undersized edge rusher who has carved out a fine career for himself after being a 6th round pick. He's had between 2 and 4 sacks every season, playing about a quarter of his team snaps. He'll continue his role as a passing down specialist, providing depth at a reasonable price. So not only is this another edge rusher, but specifically, this is also another situational pass rusher. So does that mean there's no chance of bringing Dante Fowler back on like a cheap contract? I mean, well, I really hope that doesn't mean that. But again, Jacob Martin gets about 2 to 4 sacks every year, whereas Dante Fowler just had 10.5. But then again, Pro Football Focus felt like Jacob Martin was still the better overall player and pass rusher last year, even though, again, Dante Fowler had 10.5 sacks to Jacob Martin's 4, which is incredible. But hey, that's how Pro Football Focus thinks. Actually, my fault. Not even 4 last year, 3. My fault for giving him an extra sack and him still not having even half of the sacks that Dante Fowler had last year. But also, I want to bring up the fact that, hey, Dante Fowler, outside of 2024, this past season where he had 10.5 sacks, and in 2019 for the Rams where he had 11.5 sacks, generally this guy gets somewhere between like 3 to 6 sacks a season. He had 8 back in 2017, but outside of that, he had 4, then 8, then 4, then 2, then 2, then he had that 11.5, then he had 3, then 4.5, then 6, then 4, and then he just had that 10.5. So maybe Dante Fowler's 10.5 sacks was more of a product of Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr.'s system and defensive environment here in Washington than like it was maybe Dante Fowler, the individual. And so maybe, super glass half full here. Again, I'm trying to be as transparent as possible, but I'm also trying to be optimistic as possible. Maybe they can do the same thing with Jacob Martin. I'm just saying, I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm going to drop that grenade and run away. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that he's Dante Fowler. For some reason, again, Pro Football Focus thinks he's better than Dante Fowler. I'm not going to say that at all. I still am screaming, please bring back Dante Fowler in a pretty cheap deal. But at the same time, maybe Adam Peters views this situation in that way where they're like, well, Dante Fowler isn't consistently a 10.5 sack guy. That was because of the Dan Quinn, Joe Wood Jr. system. How about we do the same thing with another guy that typically gets somewhere around 3, 4, 5 sacks a season? Maybe we could do the same thing with him. And then again, he's only going for up to $3 million. Meanwhile, after that Dexter Lawrence deal going for about $11 million a year, Dante Fowler probably is starting at the asking price of $11 million a year. So Jacob Martin is going to be far cheaper than Dante Fowler. And again, if Adam Peters and Dan Quinn feel like it's more so the system than the actual player, don't be surprised if we do not bring Dante Fowler back. Again, I want Dante Fowler back. Forget all of that I just told you. Even glass half full, give me Dante Fowler back, because we got way better at stopping the run defensive line wise, but we have definitely lost some true pass rushing ability, especially with Dante Fowler not on the roster. And I'm happy that we can stop the run now. At least I'm expecting us to be able to. I'm literally predicting us to go from the worst run stopping team last year to top 10 this year. I think I'm that high on what we've done this offseason as far as stopping the run defensive line and even secondary wise. But rushing the passer, if we don't bring back Dante Fowler or get some elite edge rusher, we trade for Trey Hendrickson, maybe we somehow one of those elite edge rusher talents fall in the first round. If we don't do that, we're definitely going to take a step back pass rushing wise, I'm assuming. Unless, again, you think Jacob Martin is more the ceiling, the system than the individual player, and Jacob Martin could be the new Dante Fowler for us. We'll see. Again, you got to remember, Dante Fowler had 4 sacks in 2023 before he had 10.5 with us this past season. And Jacob Martin just had 3 last year. Based on that trajectory, maybe he has 9.5 this upcoming season. So we'll see, man. I mean, it's just a whole bunch of hypotheticals. I'm just trying to give you every angle and piece of logic I can on any player that we're bringing in here. Now, moving on. Again, like I said before the intro, there was a Bear swap. We took their edge rusher. Well, actually, first, the Bears took Olamide Zaccheaus from us, and then we signed Jacob Martin after that, I believe. So now it's time to talk about Olamide Zaccheaus, the wide receiver who we just lost. Free agent wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus is signing a deal with the Bears. Tom Pelissero even tweeted it. Veteran Olamide Zaccheaus is signing with the Bears per source. Olamide had a career-high 45 catches and 3 touchdowns last season with Washington, and he's another weapon for Caleb Williams. You better thank Jaden Daniels and give him a percentage of your contract, because you got that contract because of Jaden Daniels. I'm not trying to downplay Olamide Zaccheaus, and I enjoyed what he did for us last year, but I mean, first of all, career highs in numbers. I don't think it's a coincidence that Jaden Daniels was a quarterback last year, and on top of that, he had 3 passing touchdowns, right? Receiving touchdowns. 2 of them came in 1 game. And that was the same game that Jamison Crowder also had 2 receiving touchdowns in that same game. Jaden Daniels threw 4 passing touchdowns between Olamide Zaccheaus and Jamison Crowder in the same game. That's how ridiculous Jaden Daniels is. Point to me how many other quarterbacks in the NFL can do that with that group of receivers that he had last year. But again, I don't want to take too much credit away from Olamide Zaccheaus. I like him. I even liked him when we signed him. I was like, okay, I can kind of see the potential there. I see the floor that he brings. And then he ended up slightly outperforming my expectations on the season. Again, having arguably his best career year in the NFL. I give a lot of credit to Jaden Daniels, but I think Olamide Zaccheaus deserves a little bit of credit as well. Shouts, even though the muffin of the punts and the special team stuff and the drop passes was getting on my nerves, but overall, Olamide Zaccheaus, I wish you the best. Shouts out to Ben Standig. He said, one that got away. Former Commanders wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus is expected to sign with the Bears. Valuable player last year as a receiver, returner, and competitor. Now, one thing you can't say about Olamide Zaccheaus was that he was not giving his all every single down until the whistle was blown, and even sometimes a little after the whistle. Olamide Zaccheaus had the exact mentality that this team really wanted all of its players to have. Because you got to remember, like Jahan Dotson, we traded him away because he didn't block, he wasn't very physical, he couldn't make contested catches. Olamide Zaccheaus is like literally the same size as Jahan Dotson. And not only did they not get rid of Olamide Zaccheaus, first of all, they went and signed him as a free agent, and he played a lot for us, which goes to show it's not a size thing, it's a mentality thing. Olamide Zaccheaus, same size as Jahan Dotson, just had a far better mentality suited for a Dan Quinn team that wants to be extremely physical on every side of the ball compared to a Jahan Dotson. So again, shouts out to Olamide Zaccheaus. Don't want to take nothing from him. Shouts out to John Com too. He said, surprised that Olamide Zaccheaus was not re-signed. Tough. Massive effort player, team-oriented, was productive when called upon, but with Debo here and Noah Brown back and a young wide receiver and Luke McCaffrey, his role would have changed some this season. I agree. He definitely would have to have taken an even further backseat than he did last year, because he wasn't even necessarily our wide receiver 2 last year, especially when Noah Brown was healthy. And Luke McCaffrey, I know last year was your rookie season and all, so we're going to give you a little bit of grace. But as a third round pick, I'm expecting to see something out of you this year, even if we got to force you the ball at times, especially like if we already have a good enough lead, we're going to make you worth that third round pick, or at the very least, we're going to give you enough opportunities to show you are him or you're not. And then maybe it's time to move on or something like that. But we don't have time to be questioning whether you got it or not. We have a nice ensemble of receivers. I like what we've done floor-wise. I would appreciate more ceiling maybe, but Deebo Samuel and Terry McLaurin provide you plenty of ceiling. KJ Osborne doesn't come with much floor, but he comes with some ceiling. Noah Brown comes with the floor. Luke McCaffrey, hey man, it's time to see what you got. I'm not gonna lie, man. So maybe that's one of the reasons they got rid of Olamide Zaccheaus, because they already know. They probably even told him, like, yeah, we would like to have you back, but just be prepared for the fact that you're going to get less targets and less snaps, because not only did we add Deebo Samuel to the mix, but Luke McCaffrey, it's time to see what he's going to do for us now. Rookie season, okay. We tried to play you in the beginning. It didn't work out, so we started to slowly phase you out of the offense. This season is full go, especially in the offseason. Luke McCaffrey, don't be surprised if he's out there with the ones a lot. They're going to give him every opportunity. I'm calling it now. They're going to give him every opportunity to show who he is or who he isn't. And with that process, Alamin Zakus would have been phased out of the offense a little bit, and so going to the Bears is probably a better opportunity for him to get much playing time and as many targets and catches as possible. And honestly though, I'm not gonna lie, even with all of that said, I still feel like training day a little bit like Denzel Washington, because I feel like, man, we signed you when nobody else wanted you. Jaden Daniels revived your career, and you gonna do this to us? Like, go to the team whose fan base hates on us and thinks about us more than probably any other fan base in the NFL, than even probably other than the Eagles at this point right now. Like, you're gonna go to the enemigos, the ops right now, like to the other side after what we did for you. You know what I'm saying? I'm mostly joking, but it is kind of like, dang, man, why them? You know what I'm saying? Alamin Zakus, you know, congratulations, and I'm wishing the best for you, but why the Bears? Because now I got to root against you actively, and it's nothing personal, but Bears fans hate Commanders fans for whatever reason. It's got to be a Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels things, and then the Hail Mary. That has to be it, because we don't think about them, but they're constantly thinking about us. But now, Olamide Zakus, I'm sorry, but you're over there with them. And if my partners don't like you, I can't like you no more. So I'm sorry. Shouts out to you, but you over there with them. And it is what it is. The line has been drawn in the sand, man. But for real though, congratulations. Go get your money. Maybe the Commanders didn't even give him an offer, or maybe whatever offer they gave him was considerably less than what the Bears gave him. And again, to my point, I think he'll probably get more opportunities to be an effective pass catcher for the Bears than he would have with us, which also goes to show that, hey, maybe our receiving core is better than the Bears right now. And I'm sure Caleb Williams will be happy to have you. I know Caleb Williams is over there thinking, you know, if I can get my hands on anything that Jaden Daniels has ever touched before or thrown a pass to, maybe I could be great too. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure Caleb Williams has a picture of Jaden Daniels in his bedroom on the ceiling when he wakes up, and he just idolizes him or something, and he's like, hey, I'll take Olamide Zakus, because Jaden Daniels, at least he was in the same room as Jaden Daniels. Anybody in the same room as Jaden Daniels, if I want to become Jaden Daniels, I gotta be like Jaden Daniels. I gotta act like Jaden Daniels. But again, I like Olamide. None of this is personal. It's just for the hating Bears fans. And hey, y'all welcome for us giving you our leftovers. I mean, what happened to that whole best wide receiver core in the NFL in August, and then it ended up being a horrible receiving core by October type of team? That's what y'all on right now. But it's cool though, man. We'll see y'all. We'll see y'all next year. We play y'all in the regular season again, man. Olamide Zakus, get ready. Get ready, because if you out there, we looking for you. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know for everything discussed in the video. Please step on that like button, step on the subscription button, step on the bell next to that subscription button, so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Really appreciate y'all again. Who knows if some random news comes out and makes this video like I look crazy in this video, even though I doubt it. I don't see what could happen tomorrow, as in March 14th. I'm recording this right now, 3 a.m. March 14th, because again, I already know I'm going to be super busy throughout the day, so there's just no way I'm gonna have some time to stop and record this video. So I was like, before I go to sleep, even though I may lose some sleep, I want to make sure I have this video ready to come out at some point in like early afternoon or something like that. So that's when y'all will probably be watching this. But either way though, hopefully no random news comes out to make me look silly talking about Olamide or Jacob Martin. Like some random news comes out that, oh, our fault. Jacob Martin actually was assigned. Who knows? I just doubt it though. Hopefully I should be good. I'm just letting you know I'm pre-recording this just in case if something crazy happens. But of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in the video. As promised, I have the answer to your trivia question from earlier. Oop, I dropped the calendar, so now I kind of got a freestyle until I pick it up. And the answer was the New York Giants in week 13. That 2022 season, even as recent as it was, is a blur, especially for something specific like that. I don't even remember tying, honestly. That I probably like out of PTSD and just erase that season from my memory, because I don't even remember tying with the Giants 20-20 in 2022. That's crazy. I probably, if I go look at the highlights, I'll remember every little bit, maybe after watching a couple of minutes of it. But right now, I'm so focused on 2025. I'm so excited about what we did in 2024. 2022, I remember more about 2012 than 2022, man. I ain't gonna lie. But either way, really appreciate y'all. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in the video. How do you feel about Jacob Martin? How do you feel about losing Olamide Zaccheaus? Basically, that swap of defensive end for wide receiver. I mean, hey, we could have did a trade if y'all wanted to do it like that. Let me know how you feel about everything. Make sure you leave a like on the way out. And I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.